everybody. Hello and welcome. This is the Big Bad Anime Channel. I'm your host, Noah. I'll also be your instructor. I am a concept artist, storyboard artist, 2D animator, and comic book artist. Welcome to the Big Bad Anime Channel. We are pleased to have you here. Now, when I get started, I like to start off with a very low opacity. So I start off with maybe 10% opacity. And I also like to be in that kind of middle gray tone. It gives me a lot of room to either go darker or go lighter. And at this stage, I'm just laying things out, being really loose with my lines. Not being too concerned with making things look perfect or making sure everything falls directly where I need it. I'm just looking to get a sense of things, and you can see that I'm just drawing on one side of the face. There's going to be some parts that mirror pretty perfectly from right to left, like the eyes, the nose, the lips, the chin, jawline, the neck. And we can just select those from the left side, copy and paste it, flip horizontally, and bring it over to the right side for kind of a perfect mirror of the places that we want to be symmetrical. Now you might ask why we're starting drawing the head. Why we're starting with a kind of blank stare. Well, in this series, we're going to be covering all kinds of things. Concept art, character design, background, environmental concept art. I'm going to show you how to do some 2D animation. But I believe that character and emotion in general all kind of generates and starts from the face. When we're trying to figure out how somebody's feeling, we tend to look at their face first. And there are all kinds of little subtleties, little nuances that you can get from drawing the face one way or another. And I think the best way to start is with a bit of a blank slate. So we can get the basics down first. And after that, we'll be able to build up, get into the more complex emotions, the more complex facial expressions. And after that, we can build on pose, gestural drawing, studies, these kind of things. But I believe we got to start with the basics first. Or if you like, another way to look at it is if you're going to build a structure, you have to have a sturdy foundation. And I think you can still have fun with these foundational exercises when you're learning the basics, or even when you're just polishing up on your skills. It doesn't have to be dry. It doesn't have to be boring, and it doesn't have to be painful. You can still have a lot of fun while making sure that your fundamentals and your foundation is strong. At this stage, I'm going a little darker on a new layer, of course, and just doing a little bit of refinement. I think I redraw this maybe 3 times before I get it all the way down to the kind of black line, straight ink work. Now, something that a lot of the students that I've had tend to get caught up on, or just people who I've talked to about art in general, they get stuck on this concept of talent, of if they have talent, or thinking they're not talented enough to be an artist or to draw. And what I say to that is my idea of talent really, there is a certain amount of gift or aptitude you're given from birth. But from what I've seen, most of the people who are really talented have a very strong sense of love and fun for what they're doing. If you've ever seen a master at work, they have this childlike energy, this excitement that's undeniable. And I think that really boils down to how much they love doing what they do. And if you love doing it, you're going to do it as often as you can, as much as possible. If it's fun, you're going to make time for it in your daily schedule. And so I think being talented really boils down to being in love with making art and really having a lot of fun while you're doing it. So then next time when you think about making art or breaking out your sketch pad, you're going to be excited to do it. And it creates kind of a momentum of sorts. And that momentum and that energy is very contagious. It's very attractive to other people. So don't be surprised if you're sitting at a coffee shop and you're just minding your own business, drawing, having a good old time, if people aren't paying a lot of attention to you. And that's not why we do it, but you can actually probably make some friends that way too. Other people might be drawing at the coffee shop and suddenly you've got a couple people at your table. That's how it goes. And it's an exciting thing to meet other people who might have other tips and tricks and things that they're doing that are fun to just kind of exchange between you two. And I would say also be mindful of who you keep in your circle, who you show your art to, who you talk about creative things with. Because not everybody is tuned into that. Not everybody is very positive about watching other people get creative and do what they want to do with it. But that is all right, because we are having fun, we're on our purpose, we're on the path, we're making strides and improving all the time. And the people around us who are positive, who are creative, they get it. But in the end, we don't do this for validation. This isn't about the external world right now. This is about doing what we love. And I encourage you to support, inspire, and encourage other artists and other people who just want to be creative and draw. Share that inspiration. It's a precious gift. If you're inspired, if you're excited about drawing and making art, share that with someone else. It's a powerful gift. And it's the best parts of life. Being creative, collaborating with other people, meeting other artists and other amazing individuals. This is all the best parts. So I say embrace it, celebrate it, and don't be competitive with one another if you can help it. Support each other. I know there's a bit of natural leaning towards kind of a healthy, friendly rivalry. That's cool. I think being a friendly, competitive, totally par for the course with us creatives. I know I am. But I'm also always encouraging, supportive, and positive about other people's work. And any critique I might have, I keep it framed in doable, constructive criticisms. I don't know if you've ever heard that old saying about never meet your heroes, but there's a reason, because oftentimes it's a bit disappointing. So when the shoe's on the other foot and someone's looking up to you, you get the chance to be better. You get a chance to actually lead the way and be that light for another, maybe somebody who wants to draw but just thinks that they're not talented, thinks that it's not for them. I think art can enrich everybody's life in one way or another. Creativity is for everyone. And being encouraging and positive is free. It doesn't cost you a thing. And it'll actually make you a better artist in the long run. And, the world is hard enough. Us artists got to stick together. So, at this stage, I hide all my sketch layers, get rid of everything I don't need. I squish down the separate layers of line work to one layer. And I can select outside of the shape, invert it in the select menu, and hit the mask button on our layer menu, which will give you a mask of the shape itself, which means you can paint on different layers within the side of the line work, essentially, without having to worry about going outside of the outer edge. I'm painting in different layers here, but eventually we will squish these all down into one layer to be able to get the shadows and highlights just right. At this point, we are just painting in the color flats. So everything that we need color-wise, with none of the highlights, none of the shadows, just flat color work. You can see I'm painting in the kind of redder parts of the face, usually around the cheeks, nose, lips, sometimes around the eyelids and the ears as well. It depends on skin tone, but usually with this kind of lighter peachy skin tone, you're gonna start to see some of that rosiness, and it kind of gives it gives the look of a healthy look to have rosy cheeks, kind of a reddish nose, lips with color, ears with color. These things, there are other places in the body, but since we're just dealing with the head right now, I mean, there's the hands, our fingers are usually a little rosier, especially around the knuckles, the elbows, the places basically on the body where there's more blood vessels, if you want to get specific. But it doesn't have to get that technical. You can just kind of notice where things go. I also use a Gaussian blur on it's a filter within the filter menu. Go into the blur menu and you'll find Gaussian blur, and you can affect how much blur you want on the layer itself. So for the blush for the nose and the cheeks, I like to use that Gaussian blur. I keep the lips a little bit tighter though, because I find the area is very specific and localized that's rosy, usually on lips. So now we're getting into the fun stuff. This is where we can get into the highlights and the shadows. I tend to squish all my flat layers except for those eye highlights and the hair highlights. Everything else gets squashed down into one layer so I can change the brightness, contrast, and make it a little darker and change the color slightly for the shadows. I usually go a little bit purple if we're in the warm colors for shadows. And the highlights I go a little bit yellow or a little bit more orange. But the nice thing is with the mask tool, this separate layer, you can just paint with the mask. You don't have to worry about painting in each color. You can flatten things down, darken them, or lighten them in this program, and then just paint in on the mask and it'll show up. So you can see we're just kind of going around some of the shadow under the lips, under the nose, where the eye dips in a little bit. There's certain places with typical lighting, normal lighting, top down. Nothing too crazy, nothing too dynamic, that you're gonna expect to see these shadows. A little bit under the bangs because there's a slight space between the hair and the forehead. Little things like that. And these are the observations when you're doing studies or when you're just drawing from life. Pay attention to what the lighting looks like, where the shadows fall on the face or the body. These are just things to notice, and over time you'll kind of get a sense of it. And shading and shadows tend to be a place I notice that a lot of younger artists or artists who are just starting out get very frustrated. And if I could give you one takeaway from this whole video, I would say make sure to find places in your sketch, in your art, that you can have fun with it. And having fun with it means getting it wrong. It means failing. It means trying again, learning from those mistakes, failing a lot, failing early. And shadows and highlights are a great place, especially in a digital program like this that's so forgiving, to make as many mistakes as you can. Try it all, get it wrong. Because over time, that's gonna build up a toolbox of things that like a second nature, muscle memory, these kind of things. And you'll get over some of that intimidation that comes from trying things you've never done or taking artistic risks. These things, they're hard-won lessons, right? And it's a battle internally. It's a battle with yourself. Perfectionism is the enemy. Let me tell you this. Having fun with it, trying a bunch of things, taking risks and failing, that's where it gets really good. It seems counterintuitive, I know. You've been told that it's got to be perfect or you're not talented. These are all lies. I'm going to tell you right now. So go and try it all, see what works for you, see what looks cool, see what gives you those feels, those good feels, and go further down that road, right? And fail again and learn from it. It's a process. That's why they call it a creative process. But it's a marathon, right? So I implore you to be kind to yourself during this journey, because it's going to be a journey, right? You're going to learn a lot. And you're going to see some things that you don't like too. You're going to see parts of your art process, your art itself, your drawings, that you're probably going to find you're going to see as weak or things that you want to improve on. Let's go down that road too. Learn those things too. The thing that is the tough thing, the thing that you want to learn, you want to draw, you want to create, but it seems to be beyond your ability. And the inclination is to stay in our comfort zone, to do the thing that we know how to do. But I think it's equally important for the artist who wants to grow, for the, creative who wants to be a professional, to push yourself in directions, to try things that you're not good at too. And that's when you come up against a wall that seems, you can't get past it, right? Some sort of either a subject matter or like even just shadowing or highlight. That's a perfect time to do some studies or learn how it actually works or actually looks, and to go into it with a bit of a spirit of curiosity and adventure. Leave that perfectionism by the wayside. There will be times to refine things and to get things boiled down to some sort of crystallized form, but while you're learning, I feel it's very, very important to give yourself that wiggle room and that grace to be wrong and to fail, and also give yourself the room to be able to fix it. Maybe you don't know how to fix it. Sometimes things get abandoned. Projects get left by the wayside because we don't know what it even needs. That's all right. It's good to have a whole backlog of things that you can go find when you're looking for inspiration or you need some new ideas. And when you're in that process of trying things and failing and learning, I think it's really good to also push things too far, to go outside of the lines and then pull it back a little bit. It's a lot easier to pull things back from over the line than it is to have not enough and try to stretch it to meet the line, if that makes any sense. Essentially, don't play it safe. There's no downside to doing a nosedive here, other than maybe a little bruise on the ego. But guess what? That's gonna pay off in dividends in the long run in terms of the mileage you get out of not playing it safe. Swinging for the fences. There's nothing wrong with that. This is the place to do it. And especially when you're working in a digital program that gives you all kinds of undos and a history where you can go back and separate layers. So there's really no reason to be precious with these ideas. You can always just save an alternate version of the file and try something all the way new and all the way different. And in the industry out here in Hollywood, there is a saying, what is the saying? It's no bold idea is a wrong idea. Something I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's the gist of it. As long as you've got a bold idea, it's not bad, essentially. I think that's a little bit false, to be honest. But the idea is really cool. And if you can see I think what they're saying is throw it against the wall, see what sticks for you. Throw everything against the wall, at least to start with, and see what's really working in the long run. It takes a certain kind of bravery to do that, especially when you have an audience. And don't worry, I won't expect you guys to be doing anything like that right away. It comes with time, it comes with experience. The other side of that is playing it safe really doesn't work out very well for most creatives, or being precious with your ideas never really gets celebrated. So it's good to stay within the guidelines of a project for sure, but you also got to be a little wild and a little out there and willing to put a piece of yourself into the framework of every project you take on. If you've got a project you've been mulling around in your head for a while, or something you've really been wanting to draw but just didn't even know where to start, this is a place for you. This is going to be a safe space for artists, creatives, people who like to draw, to find a tribe. So let me know what you're working on in the comments below. Give me a sense of what you want to learn. Yeah, let's have a little back and forth about this, because I'm excited to see what's on the horizon. Thank you guys for joining me. This has been the Big Bad Anime Channel. Peace.